just so I can get a recap down for how that's going to work. I'm going to put that menu over here. And then I need to put my notes right here for my talking points. All right, cool. Hit the update button like 20 times to make sure that's all working fine. But how this is going to work is I'm just going to go over my talking points, try to be as brief as I can. If you have a queue, God, I am really out of it. I just woke up like 20 minutes ago. Feel free to shoot the question at the end. I'll say when. I'm hoping to be done in like 20, maybe 30 minutes tops. Just at me in the channel that we're in right now, and then I will answer it. And then any additional questions that people might be watching from the stream, I'll then answer. And then you can go whenever you feel like you've gotten enough. But this is, I'm hoping, going to be a good opportunity where you can at least pin me down and get a question out of me or get something across as a point. I do have the open door policy. You can do that at any time with me, but if you feel that it's better to do it in some sort of town hall meeting, feel free, but I'm not going to hit any questions till the end. So we have another 2 minutes. I'll go ahead and wait, but here's something stupid I want to show you guys. 1 second. So I'm gonna have to put these in my garden channel. But I've got a new batch of golden oyster growing for my new mushroom hobby. All right, so I'm gonna post these in order. So the first one was 3 days ago. That one was yesterday, about 24 hours ago, and then this one's today. And of course, the second one decides not to load properly. Oh well.
Send in Goat Team 6 now.
But yeah, at least you can see the 3 days apart. I find that really fascinating. But that gives me something to do outside of doing, 5 to 12 mission developments a week and whatnot. But it's just something fun. Anyway, it is noon, so let's go ahead and get this meeting out of the way. So first off, thank you for attending. Again, I'm hoping to do one of these every, I want to say 2 to 3 months. It's simply just to go over how the community's doing, what I want to do with it, let you all stay in the loop because I am pretty much a one-man show here, and I feel like you all have the right to know what's going on. And I feel that the communities that do something like this are much better off compared to the ones that don't. So first off, I just want to set the record straight for TSB because there's still a lot of questions. I don't really plan on doing any more Zeus ops for TSB, nor do I really plan on playing in TSB anymore. And the main primary reason is just the mod set size, to me, has gotten way, way too bloated. Mod sets are in the hundreds. I know they're trying to fix that now, but there's some other underlying issues on top of that one that have pushed a lot of people away. The original system with TSB is how it all started was we were all working under Luton 09 back in the day when he did Arma stuff. And he kind of went a little mad with power, so we ousted him, even though he got a whiff of it coming and decided to leave beforehand. And then we made a system within TSB where not one person would have all the power. It would be divided amongst a bunch of different groups because we didn't want someone like Luton to rise up again, and that probably would have been in me. Because I did have a bit of a toxic streak between 2017 and 2018. I'll admit it. I'm not proud of it, but we all go through that growing cycle. Over the years, that worked fine, I want to say, up until 2020 when a lot of the old guards started leaving to do other things. Billman just became too busy. What's that? I I forget what his specific reason was, but he also became too busy, and then Sniper Wolf went back to school. So it kind of just left me with some of the underlanes that I didn't always agree with, and we just cycled through a lot of people on the administrative side, and I didn't always agree with some of their decisions, and there wasn't really anything I could do about it. So over the, I want to say, past 2 years, I just watched the player base slowly drop less and less, and there wasn't really much I could do. So I just decided to kind of, now that I have the maturity, I can do what Luton did back in the day, but hold the power, essentially. Because I would like to think I have that maturity at this point. So that's why this place exists. That's why we're running ops out of here. And I'm doing my best to make sure you guys kind of keep me in check. Thank you, honey. She just made me breakfast. I'll get to that during Q&A, but and I'll explain why that's the case and how you guys have that ability. So with that, let's talk about the polling system. So right now I've been shooting for the 15th, but this could change because next line of polls is going to be mid to late April, because for this month we've already decided on the 2 op cycles we want to do a Halo campaign, which I've already planned a 4-mission campaign for. Mod set's going to be a little chunky for it, but it's because I want every bell and whistle. I was debating offering a poll to even ask if you guys wanted a bigger or smaller mod set, but I think based off of what I can provide with this one, it can blow your socks off. So I'm just going to go straight for it with the mod set size. It's not going to be super duper big. It's still going to be under 20 mods. But the mods themselves are on the chunky side. But it's going to literally give me every possible tool I need to make this a really cool 4-mission campaign. Then after we're done with it, you can delete it, like I am. And then the second campaign is going to be Last Ship. I've had that campaign ready to go. It's a 6-mission campaign right now with basically a focus on the weekends, probably Sundays, based off of how my Saturday schedules are looking, but with 1 or 2 auxiliary ops on the side. And then that gives me a few weeks of running whatever I feel like as an Ox op on a Wednesday or a Monday. But I know the final Halo op I am going to want to run on a weekend day, because that's going to be the quote-unquote big one. So with that said, how the polling system is going to work for, let's see, May ops is, again, towards mid to late April, I'm going to be putting out a poll that's asking you guys what you want to play. I've got a list of topics down in the workstation channel, which only some of you can see. I think I only have it tied to subs and patrons at the moment. That'll change in a bit, but we'll talk more about that later. From there, you guys will pick what you want to play. We'll run that for May, but I also have a few other questions that are individual polls that are going to ask things like your availability, what days you want to play, what time slots you want to play. I'm going to probably run a poll like that every 3 or so months, just so I can have that information fresh. If I were to actually look in my workstation right now, I can tell you what I've got listed here. Preferred op sizes. The previous winner was around 21 to 30, but I'm curious how that's changed. And then I've got 1 or 2 other questions I haven't written down in this channel yet. And then 2 additional operations. 1, would anyone be willing to do an IED course as a special event? And number 2, would anyone be willing to do a T5 put up or shut up op where I bring back What's That, Sniper Wolf, and potentially Bill Man? And you guys can run a PvE plus P op and see if you can beat them, because it's been a while since we've done that, but that's one of the unique things I've done in the past. So that'll be up to you guys. If I get a majority that wants to play, then we can do that. But otherwise, again, you guys have the power in democracy of what we play here. And then once in a while, I'll just throw something up to go, hey, you know, let's do this. But I do not mind letting you guys choose what we do. All right, next point. Other projects. So a little bit of backstory. When I worked with other communities, sometimes on MCO level projects where we'd invite another community, or how would I say it? When we'd invite TSB with a few other communities to do a giant group or joint task force project, this one mainly concerning SOG Prairie Fire. I do a lot of work with a lot of other communities, and some of them do require me to bring in some people. Starting with the next SOG Prairie Fire project, I am going to be looking to bring a group of people from here rather than TSB. I will also say that there were some administrative concerns with a few things that a few TSB players did that some of the SOG players didn't necessarily appreciate. So when that comes around, it's not going to be open to everyone specifically here. It's going to be open to people that I have personally seen perform well in this operation. And it's not me trying to gatekeep for that community specifically. It's me kind of actually, no, that is one way to put it. I am gatekeeping for them because they want a certain type of player to come into those operations. But that is just one example. There will be a few other things down the line where I will be able to invite people to. Such as potentially Digby's operations or others that are doing giant joint stuff. And I will be a bit on the stingy side when it comes to accepting those invites because some of them, people that have been with me in TSB will know, some of them are flops. And I want to try to avoid flops as best I can. I don't mind letting people experiment and whatnot, but I don't want people to, I put my name on something, you guys follow me towards it, and it turns out we all kind of suffer on that one. And as Iceberg was saying in the chat channel here, we can think of a few from back in TSB's day. So I've got that coming, and I will let you guys know. I'll put it in the announcements channel, and when I have those available, I'll let you guys know. Next talking point, quick note on the special things we do here, MCOs, pay for pains, and checkpoint RPs. MCO, I'm hoping to revive that project sometime in summer. Might be even earlier based off of how things are going. But that's going to be the main large community scale project that I want to bring back here. The main thing that's been kind of preventing me from doing it is I wanted to build this place up first. And based on the fact on the weekends we're having now up to 20 to 30 player ops, once we start teasing the actual 30 line, that's when I will start refocusing on doing MCO, so I can at least have half the player base filled here, and then the other half I can reach out to 2 or 3 other communities and get that filled. So that'll probably stay around the 60 player category until I feel the need to upgrade the server. I want to run one of those every 2 months. I think running one every month is a bit ambitious, but if we are going to go back to the really large MCOs, that's at least going to be every 2 months. But another possibility is running a 60-player MCO and then like an 80-person MCO and then just doing it bi-weekly, because a 60-person op isn't that bad. But just know that there's a difference in what we can do with a 60-player op versus like a 20-player op. I can put a lot more detail on the server with the 20-player op compared to a 60-player op. But I want you guys to play the Halo campaign first, or at least see what I'm doing with the Halo campaign, because that's going to be really, really cool. But also show you what I can do with only 20 to 30 players at a time, or less, depending on how things are going. But with that, that's how we're going to handle MCOs. Pay for pains going to be every 6 to 12 months. My goal is to at least start doing them here, but I might occasionally outsource them to another community. We just ran one in POG. It was pretty brutal, but it was a proper pay for pain in my opinion. But the next one, I put the time slot down in the pay for pain channel. That's not till like August at the earliest, and then latest March. And then checkpoint RPs, we're going to be doing those every 3 to 4 months. I think I already put down the month I'm going to start focusing on the next one. We did one a month ago. That went pretty all right. But as we grow this community to be larger, we'll be able to make those a bit bigger. I probably want to go and stay around the 40 to 50 player marks for those, because I think 60 is a little too high. But again, that's something we'll just play by ear. But again, for all of our large scale projects like those that are reoccurring, I want to keep you guys in the loop about that. So if we ran one, last month, that would be early February, or was it early or mid-February? I think it was mid-February, but that means March, April, May. So around May or June, we'll run the next one. Next point, I've had a few people reach out. I don't think anyone's here that this involves, but there's been a few communities that have reached out and asked how to play in some of my operations here. I usually let those go on a DM basis, and if I have a large chunk of slots I need filled, like in a full squad, I'll let a community take that. It's been mainly with POG and Lazy Rugs group, which I'm blanking on the name right now. I think the 228th. For now, that's fine with certain ops because I don't have a lot of slots filled. However, as this community grows, I might have to rework a system for something like that, because I don't want you guys to feel like I'm alienating anyone by letting other groups of people come in and play. I hope in the future I can work a system like that to literally just add a squad to allow certain people to play each other. And TSB tried to do something like that with a whole groups thing, which I think they just completely overcomplicated it. You can just easily get a group of people and just assign them to a squad if they really want to play with each other. You just have to ask the Zeus beforehand. So with the system of what we do between having, you know, the ops announced in advance, at least 48 hours, and then 24 hours before slotting, I think we can work a system like that anyway, to potentially do that. But that's going to mainly be for dedicated communities outside of the sphere here. But if you want to basically get like if you have a bunch of friends here and you all want to play together, just ask me and I will literally work with you to reserve something, as long as it's not like, you know, an 8-person operation that, you know, if a group of people reserve it beforehand, then what's the point? It's going to be an op that has a lot of slots on purpose to accommodate for a system like that. So that's just a quick note about that. And then advertising perms, we'll talk about that later, because I'm still reworking that system, but I know some of you have asked for your own communities. But I will admit, I do kind of see that as mooching. I've had plenty of people come in here and go, hey, I see that you have an advertised channel. Can I just put my community in and advertise? And I'm like, I don't even know you. Like, who the hell are you? But we'll work on a system like that. Already touched on my open door policy in the beginning. Just, you know, if you want to ask me anything, send me anything. Of course, I mentioned that 2 days ago while I was streaming, and 3 people sent me pornographic material, and I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. I mean, that's not why it exists, but sure, I appreciate it. But yeah, if you ever need to ask me anything or tell me anything, you can just DM me. I don't care. I do have some planned cleanup of this Discord, as I'm starting to change it over from a fan Discord to an Arma Discord. It's kind of been that way for the past, I want to say, 1.5 years, as I've slowly been optimizing things. I've also been slowly working on certain projects that some have panned out, some have not. But it's at least shown me what may and may not work in a community like this. So if you just see a few channels disappear, that is the reason. And I'll go over more of that when I officially make the changes and probably put them in an announcement, and then just touch up on them in the next town hall meeting. But I'm just trying to optimize everything with that. All right, now this is a really fun one, because I've had a few people ask, and I know a lot of you have the question. Some of you have asked what it's going to take to Zeus here. I've already mentioned that I'm a bit of a one-man show. However, there will be a few periods coming up in late June where I am going to be unavailable for a few days to 5 days to even a week. I have 2 or 3 of these coming up, and I would appreciate having something ready to go for the days I'm gone. What this means is I have a list of a few of you, and I know I'm going to get a few of you DMing me about this after this meeting. But once I have those dates finalized, I wouldn't mind giving one of you the server information and vetting a mission with you to run in my absence. This is not going to be a permanent thing. This is going to be more of a rotationary thing. And if it works out and we get to the point where we have a massive player base here, similar to how we had in TSB, then we can talk about it being a permanent thing. But these are going to be my rules and my standards. So I'm going to be vetting a mission file with you, because I don't want someone to run a mission and to find out they're missing 5 things in the arsenal, because, well, where I was from, that seemed to happen a lot. So they'll also be in line with the mod sets we're working with. So let's say hypothetically I was gone for 5 days in April and I needed someone to run a mission. You would probably run a Halo mission at that point. So once we decide what we're doing in June and July, and I find out the finalized dates of when I'll be gone, I will be reaching out to a few people and seeing if I can find a replacement for those days that I am gone to run at least 1 mission, but it depends on the date range. If you want to mention to me that you would be interested in doing some Zeusing, feel free to do that after this community meeting, and I will add your name to the list. All right, and the final thing, this is just a brief note. Going forward, if this community gets bigger and we do run missions like that SCP operation from last week where I know quite a few of you wanted to get that one infiltrator slot, I may have plans to monetize those slots in the future. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet. I had a rough idea of how I'm going to do that, but I need to constantly work on ways to monetize things because, how do I put it? YouTube and Twitch have had a track record of very high highs and very low lows, so I like to have various sources of income to basically cover for that. And I'll be honest with you guys, this year I'm going to barely have enough money to pay my taxes, so I'm always trying to find new ways to monetize stuff. But once I have a plan for that in place, I will let you guys know in the town meeting before I implement it. And that's not going to be till at least 6 months away, depending on how this place grows. And again, I will state to the people commenting, I don't want to have to do things like that. But unfortunately, we live in a world where you still have to make money doing what you love, and I'm trying to create ways that aren't super intrusive with things, but I have to make sacrifices where I can. That being said, if anyone knows a good DayZ server, please let me know, because DayZ was a very big moneymaker for me, and if I can get that back, I can delay that process very well. And please do not say Stalker RP, because that place was a mess. Anyway, that is all the points I have to go over. If you have any questions, now would be the time. I have the chat channel open on the town hall, so at me with them. I'll give it a few minutes, and then I'm going to ask my chats. I'll go over those in here. House of Trash DayZ server doesn't exist anymore, which is why I'm asking on that previous thing, but we'll see how that goes. If you have any questions, just put them in chat and then at me at them. And then if you're also in the Twitch chat, feel free to put them in the, the Twitch chat too. Plans to expand the community. So right now, we're still kind of in the small phase, all things considered. Yes, we're starting to hit the, high 20s on operations on weekends. Once we start hitting the 30s, I will start thinking about things, but that's at least another month or two away. How I intend to expand is continuing to run 2 or 3 missions a week. Next phase would probably be to bring back something that, for those of you that were in TSB, you'll remember this when we had people like Frost run game servers on the side. I'm either going to bring Frost back and we're going to begin that rotation here again. However, I think, I know. Him and I have talked about something like that in the past, and he would rather have his own kingdom with his own Discord and total control, and I get that, but I would prefer to have someone working directly under me. And once again, it would be a pull system. So we would probably put a few different games down, like DayZ, 7 Days to Die, Yadida, and we would run probably a 2-month rotation with those games, simply because after the 2-month period, people usually pan out and go do other stuff. And even for certain games, I think 1 month is enough. But that would be the next step. We're not going to tackle that at least till the summer. But then once we start getting ops where for like a 30 or 40 player mission, I put up the, or slotting opens for that, and I get all those slots filled within 10 minutes, that's when I will start thinking of having additional ops run, but with dedicated Zeuses that are under me, that I trust, that know my standards, and will work with that accordingly. And I don't think we're going to hit that for at least a year. Growth of this community is directly tied to YouTube algorithm stuff. At least that's what I've noticed in the past. And I have just figured out how to unscrew my channel in that sense. But it's still going to be a slow growth. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, next question from Path here. If we have a mission idea we want to see run, but no community to run it with, can we commission you to put it and run it with this community? Yes. Yes, you can. So as I mentioned earlier, I have 1 or 2 op slots every month here that I can decide what I want to run. I will admit, We're already doing something like that. Someone named Zeest sent me some money. He's gave me a picture of the actual farm he works and runs with his family. I'm going to recreate that in Arma. I'm going to turn it into a marijuana farm, and I'm still deciding whether or not we're going to defend it against gangsters or police, or be police raiding it. And I think it's going to be a funny little mission. But yes, I do take commissions like that because, again, I need money. But I also think that would be something really fun to incorporate things with. And if you have more questions about that path, you can DM me. And that goes to anyone. You can DM me and we can work something out. Because I run it here, I don't run my standard rate for people, which is usually 150. But for Zeest, I did that for 50 because it's also not going to be that hard to build. But I base it off of time for things like that. Anyway, Dine, would you... I'm going to assume that was want instead of wants, but want some other than Ross to run services. So again, with what Nailed It said in chat, I do have to talk to him. He will run it. I probably will reach back to Frost first because he already has all of that knowledge. I just know for some services like Daisy, he's probably going to have me pay him because I have paid him in the past, but I don't have the revenue to do that right now, but I'll figure something out. Because at the end of the day, if we put up a poll and Daisy wins, I will figure out how to get Frost to do it in some way or another. But I will work that out. And if Frost is unavailable, so basically it'll be like, I'll ask Frost to do it. If whatever wins the poll, if he says no, then I'll find someone else to do it. But Frost is my go-to because he's the one already with all the experience. Yes, he also has his own Discord, and I'm going to let him advertise it. He'll probably be able to poach a few people, but if Frost can't do it, I'll find someone else too, and that'll open up with everything. Anyway, Moneybags, if I give you 100, can you sit in as a co-Zeus and just watch? Yes. And the only reason I'm saying yes to you is because you have helped me out in the past a lot, and I trust you. We'll talk about that in DMs, but we've done... I know in TSB's system to train Zeus's, the whole system with that was you get picked because of your... what is it? Your attendance overall is pretty good. But it's for like months to years at that point. It's changed again. Well, I'm just talking about the previous system that I know. Because I loved this system. But you then have 3 different Zeuses that you sit on as a co-Zeus and you don't do anything. I will admit for mine, I had them do a few things just so they could get their hands on to things. So I had them set the AI difficulty, which as a Zeus, I can immediately peer review that. And if they did it wrong, I can adjust it accordingly. Send in a few units, talked about patrols. I did things a little more hands-on-y, which they didn't like, but when I say they, I meant the system, but it at least gave them a little bit of experience going in. Then someone walked the Eden editor through with them, and then they ran 3 ops, primarily as the Zeus, and then they had someone like me watch them and just show them a few different things or explain how things worked. So I thought it was a good system. Again, I don't know if they have a new system, and I can't speak on that because I don't work there anymore, but I wouldn't mind going into the late future. If this place ever grows to a large community, I will probably make a system like that to run people through, because at that point, I want you to run things to my standards with your spin on it. And if we ever get to that point, I will explain that in greater detail. But Moneybags, yeah, just hit me up in DMs. We can set something up when you're available for a sit-in. I would not mind that one bit. Sunsea, could we do a T5 PvE VP for that op? Just feel it'd be fun to raid the T5s on that setting. No, because when I do commission work, it's up to Zeest, so you're gonna have to DM him and try ask that. But the map is gonna be a bit too small for something like that. When we do a T5 put up or shut up op, I have to give them enough room to maneuver circles around you. And of course, the only counter you need is 360 security, but it's crazy how that changes up. But I'll put a poll up to see if people even want to do that in this community, and if it's a yes, then I'll put up a secondary poll, and I have to see if that's even possible to get them all in an operation together to do it in the first place. So we'll see on that. Quick note, I forgot to mention about the polls, by the way. In order to make sure the polls are being fair, I have learned that going into the poll like 5 days after and going through all of the names of the people that replied and deleting the responses from people that I have never seen play before in this community greatly helps in me gauging the numbers of how the polls actually are. Because for the first time we did it, I had seriously inflated numbers to what was actually showing up, and I found out actually by looking at the results and who applied, half of those people I had never seen before. So that does create a catch-22 of if you're a new player and you show up literally a day or two before poll day, your name might disappear, and that's simply because I don't know you. However, if you start playing in operations and then I, recognize your name, then I won't delete your name on the next one. But that's pretty much to prevent people that come in here, grab an ARMA tag, and just sit in it, and then also decide to participate in the polls. I forget what specific type of bias that is, but in terms of technical terms, but that's just so I have the most accurate answers for what I do, because I don't want things to be skewed in any one direction, because I have met people who know how to skew things, and yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. Am I planning on ever adding a tier system in training? Tier system, no. Simply because I think it's just
Send in
easier
Goat
for a
Team
one-man
6
show
now.
to manage everyone evenly. Would a tier system help for things like bringing people to other operations? Yes, but at that point, I'm going to know you, and I'm going to know how well you do, depending on how often you show up in my operations. So if I see you perform well, if I see you do really good things, I'm going to extend that invite. And it does mean that it's to my personal bias, but at the same time, when I bring a group of people to another community to participate, that's my name on the line anyway, because if you don't perform well, or if you break rules, or if you fuck around, I get in trouble, and then that offer gets rescinded for next time. So it is up to my personal bias at that point. You just have to have the trust in me that I can, bring in the proper people to do those operations. So we'll see how that goes in the future. Training, for the past 2 polls, I have put up training requests, and they have not done too well. I'm going to probably set a threshold at one point to have a training or 2, dependent on what we need. But again, they just haven't done well in polls, so I haven't done them, period. Anyway, how many mods are you thinking for the Halo campaign? I mean, 1 second. This is the current test mod set. I'm going to put it in Arma 3 discussion. And the main reason it's bloated is because there's a few things I want in a certain community's mod page, which we're not going to use, but even then, that's what I have. I do need to still put a few bells and whistles in there, like enhanced video settings, enhanced trenches, or group Adler trenches is what it's called. Prone launcher redesigned I want to put in as well. So just a few of the bell and whistle mods we use. I'm not going to put in DUI radar, though, because I want you to use the OpTray system. And I feel it's redundant if I put DUI radar in there if you're also going to have that motion tracking system, because it works the exact same way as DUI, except it also detects enemies. So just to explain myself there, similar to how we don't have enhanced movement in the SCP campaign, because that would have made some of the stealth insurgent ops much too easy, in my opinion. All right, let me go back down to Town Hall. But, I mean, A2 to Classified, OpCan, those are 2 mods that have to be in there for redundancy that I'm not going to pull anything from because they're older mods. But they're required to make the first MEU mod work because they have some really cool things in there. Again, for that extra cinematic stuff. So we'll go from there. Speaking on that campaign too, it will primarily be a PDF force, but there will also be room for some Oni spook slots. I'm still debating if I'm going to throw a Spartan in there. The campaign is going to be set pre-Covenant War against Innies, but don't trust a word that comes out of my mouth, and that's all I'm going to say about that. All right. Bloodwing just saw the golden oyster mushrooms in my back. I just heard her scream. Anyway, looking at the previous questions here, is there a way to get some kind of training server so we can teach people some stuff before op days? No. Really, that's just a personal choice with me of I really like the trial by fire system. and it is one of the negatives we have to deal with. But once we start getting into operations where it's very competitive to get in like an 8 or 10 person slot, I might pull people aside that are brand new and say, hey, do you know how to do XYZ? Because if you don't know how to do XYZ, I'm probably going to unslot you, because if you don't know how to do XYZ, you're probably going to screw the mission up. And you're just going to have to trust me on that vetting process. I like to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. So I'm not going to immediately unslot anyone because I don't know them. It's just a matter of, do people know how to perform? And if they don't, I'm just going to say, hey, try another op on this day instead, and we'll see how things go. But I also know that there's a lot of you here that don't mind pulling people aside and running them through a simple, like, rundown of, this is how you bandage yourself, this is how you talk on the radio, that's all you need to know. And then you can just carry them through, because I'll be honest, when you run people through things like that, that also increases the likelihood that they're going to stay and play the next one because they don't think you're all a bunch of jackasses. You know what I mean? So we'll figure it out in time, and it's also going to be up to you guys to let me know, especially in the debriefs, all the bad things that were happening with certain players, because we are going to eventually run into a few bad apples that are going to try to screw things up. And unlike TSB, I'm probably going to ban them immediately, because I've learned through sitting on administrative meetings for months to years, it's not worth keeping those types of people in the community at all, because it just creates way too much headache. Anyway, I think that was the last question. But yeah, as Mac Marine saying in the chat, with trainings especially, people will vote for them, and then finding a time that they're actually available to do it is it's another big question that, we might not get. I know in TSB, we ran weekly trainings, and we would always have the issue of people not showing up to them. So I'm only going to run trainings if they're absolutely voted for on the poll. And then from there, I'll assign another poll to see when everyone's available. So if we at least get like 5 to 10 people on a day that'll work, then I'll probably run it. But that's just going to be a one-time thing as we, need to get there. Any future open arsenal ops? There will be an impossible op sometime in April where that will be a full arsenal. It also is going to have a few pay-for-pain style mechanics of I'll let the chat add a few things to the AO, because it is meant to be an impossible op. But with my impossible ops, the only reason it's not, impossible is because communication breaks down. I still like to rig it so that if you have perfect communication, you should still be able to complete the operation. Anyway, I'm now going to turn to my Twitch chat and come back to questions in a second. First, I want to say to Wise Man and Drunk Firebear, thanks for the resubs, but I got to focus on this meeting. Anyone in Twitch chat, if you have a question, feel free to @ me and in my chat, and I will answer that. And as you guys write those down, I'm going to look back to Suni's question here. Would you be against some basic videos around things such as Ace Medical? I'll put that in a poll. No, I'll literally, I can put that in a poll. That would actually be even easier, because instead of trainings, what if I just ran through the entire training, put it in a YouTube video, and then I pinned those videos in a channel, and that's your training? I think actually that would be a lot easier. You know what I mean? Because I still remember all of TSB's documentation. Heck, I helped write some of it back in the early days. Especially for things like AT training, how to read the RPG scopes, for example. I would have a picture of that on a billboard when I taught people AT training. But yeah, no, I'm not even gonna put that to a poll. I'm just probably gonna do that probably over the weekend, actually. And then we could just put that in a pinned channel. See, that's why I like having community meetings, because you guys help me come up with these ideas for the bottlenecks that we have that I don't realize, and then we can just set it up like that. So give me, I want to say a few days, but I'm going to be honest, give me like a full week, because during this weekend, I'm also going to be working on the Halo and Last Ship campaigns, and we'll go from there. Only if I teach key bindings for medical menu. Yes, I will show you medical menu. because I will admit I do have a personal bias against using the asymmetrical menu. I prefer to look at people's limbs because that helps me with my own immersion, but when someone's glitched out or in a position where I can't look at the limb, I still go to the medical menu and use it. Or when there's a mask has, I still use the medical menu because it's the quickest thing to do, and at that point, I don't want other people to suffer from my personal biases and preferences. Anyway, let me turn to Twitch chat. Falcon, you bring up an interesting point about letting people mess around in the editor. But some people I have learned need a lot of help when it comes to things like these, so it's good to just kind of steer them towards a certain direction, which is why I wouldn't mind making a video series for stuff like that. Have I ever considered pay for pain with other games like Barotrauma or Subnautica? I mean, we already kind of do that with Subnautica with the sound bites, but I would have to look into actual mods to allow people for spawning things. However, in terms of Subnautica, I mean, people would just spawn a single Reaper. I would scream my ass off and probably get eaten, so I wouldn't really see that as too enjoyable, but we'll see. All right, I'm going to give it one more minute for any other questions. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap things up. Why not Pay for Pain World War II, switch it up, and have... So, another note on Pay for Pain. When we get around the August mark, since I am hoping to run it in my Discord community, it's going to go to a poll, guys, similar to the Checkpoint RP. I'm going to let you guys vote for it. I know for the Checkpoint RP, to kind of get it back into it, I themed it on Last of Us. But going forward, again, I want to give you guys the opportunity to choose what type of theme we'll be doing for it because, again, you guys have the power here. That was just me kind of taking something we already were running and then seeing if there was still an interest for Checkpoint RP in the first place. And clearly there was, so, you know, when we get to those certain dates, I will give you guys the poll and then start working on something. Anyway, I'm not getting any other questions here. We've gone about 40 minutes. I'm going to wrap it up here. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, again, I have the open door policy, and you can just shoot them to me, and I will be happy to answer them. But I'm going to now actually start setting up on the training thing because I do have something to Zeus for Karma Cuts community in either 3 or 6 hours because I never remember their time change properly. So thank you all for attending. I hope this was insightful. It was definitely for me, because now I know a few things that I need to do. And I think we have slotting opening up for the last SCP op coming up. Nailed it. Non-checkpoint RP ops will basically be... You know what? I'll put that on as a poll. Poll option for April. 1 second. Poll... Would players like non-checkpoint RP ops? That'll be a feeler poll, and then if it wins, if it goes very high, I'll have a follow-up poll, and I'll figure out a way to incorporate that in... I could easily incorporate that in a last ship campaign style, and then with what I have going for Halo, I have a few ways that could be incorporated, but... I will admit I'm keeping most of that campaign close to the chest because I want it to be a nice surprise. But anyway, wrapping it up here. Thank you so much for being here, guys, to my stream. Thank you so much for listening. And I will see you guys Sunday. Go sign up for the SCP thing when it opens up in an hour and a half. Have a good one. I'm going to close out my stream.